The evening has settled softly over the world, wrapping the land in a gentle hush. The last light of day fades slowly behind the trees, and the air carries the quiet stillness that comes just before night deepens. It is in this calm, serene moment that we invite you to rest, to let your mind wander slowly into a world of stories and gentle imaginings. Tonight, we will travel together through the shadowed forests and misty realms of old Slavic lands, guided by the tales of a figure both mysterious and timeless. This is a story meant not to rush you, but to cradle you, to drift alongside you as you walk through realms of imagination, folklore, and the quiet pulse of the night. As you settle comfortably, perhaps lying back under soft blankets or leaning gently into a chair, imagine the world around you slowing down. Feel the weight of the day begin to ease from your shoulders. Allow the rhythm of your breath to become even and gentle. Each inhale and exhale a gentle wave that carries you a little deeper into relaxation. We begin not with action or alarm, but with a slow, thoughtful entrance into the stories that have been whispered for centuries. These tales are not only entertainment. They are the soft echo of human experience, memory, and imagination, passed down from generation to generation, shaping dreams and thoughts long before we write them down. Tonight, our story will revolve around a figure who has captivated minds for hundreds of years, appearing in tales of wonder, mystery, and sometimes fear. Baba Yaga is her name, a character who is at once fearsome and wise, strange and familiar, terrifying yet oddly comforting. In some stories, she is a witch who dwells at the edge of the forest, in a house that moves upon giant chicken legs, surrounded by shadows and the silent whispers of the woods. In other tales, she is a guide, a helper, a keeper of knowledge that cannot be found anywhere else. She exists in the liminal spaces of folklore, those in-between places where safety meets danger, where the known world blends seamlessly with the unknown. But before we step fully into her story, it is important to pause and reflect upon the nature of the tales themselves. Folklore is not simply a collection of old stories. It is a living thing, breathed into life by generations of listeners and storytellers. Each telling shifts slightly, adapting to the times and the needs of those who listen. In these quiet hours, we engage with the story not only to learn its details, but to feel the pulse of history, the rhythm of imagination, and the soft resonance of human experience. These stories are windows into the fears, hopes, and dreams of those who lived long ago, inviting us to sit by their fires and hear their voices in the calm of the night. As the darkness settles further, imagine the deep forest stretching endlessly before you. The trees stand tall, their branches swaying gently in a soft, unseen breeze. The forest is alive with the subtle music of the night, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl, the whisper of shadows moving just beyond the reach of light. It is here, in this quiet and still place, that our story truly begins. Imagine yourself taking a slow, careful step onto the forest path, guided by the faint glimmer of moonlight filtering through the canopy above. With each step, the world behind you softens and blurs, and the path ahead becomes a gentle invitation to explore, to wander, to dream. Tonight, you are not merely a listener. You are a traveler through time, a wanderer in spaces both real and imagined. You are invited to move gently through the world of Baba Yaga, to observe without haste, to feel the subtle currents of her story, and to allow yourself to be carried forward by the calm, steady rhythm of her tales. This is not a story of sudden surprises or harsh shocks, but of slow revelations, quiet wonders, and the lingering echo of human imagination reaching across centuries. And so, as you breathe slowly and evenly, let the stillness envelop you. Let the hush of night mingle with the soft cadence of the story. Allow yourself to sink a little deeper into comfort, knowing that the world of Baba Yaga awaits, strange, mysterious, and yet intimately familiar. We will move together through forests and huts, through tasks and tests, through moments of fear and moments of gentle wisdom. All of this will unfold at a pace meant to soothe, to relax, and to invite your mind into a calm, reflective state, preparing you for rest and the slow drift towards sleep. Tonight, we step quietly into a story that is as old as the forests themselves, a tale that has survived the passing of countless nights, waiting for someone like you to hear it, to breathe it in, and to carry its quiet magic within. Before we fully step into the mysterious world of Baba Yaga, it is gentle to pause and consider the nature of folklore itself, the soft heartbeat behind the stories we tell and hear. Folklore is more than old tales whispered around fires. It is the quiet echo of human experience carried across generations, a living thread connecting the past to the present. In its simplest form, folklore is a mirror of the people who created it, a reflection of their fears, their dreams, their sense of wonder, and even the lessons they wish to pass on. It is in these stories that humans found a way to understand the world around them, to navigate the unknown, and to soothe the uncertainties of life with imagination and narrative. Imagine a night long ago, in a village tucked beside a forest, where families gather around the dim glow of hearth fires. Outside, the wind may sway the trees, carrying with it a chill that brushes against the window panes. Yet inside, the air is warm, filled with the gentle rhythm of voices recounting old tales. It is here that folklore comes alive, not written on pages, but spoken softly, shared slowly, allowing listeners to picture the forest paths, the creatures hidden in shadows, and the forces both kind and dangerous that might be encountered. Each tale is a careful balance, crafted to teach lessons while captivating the imagination, offering both comfort and intrigue in measured doses, much like the ebb and flow of night and day. Folklore carries within it a deep sense of cultural memory. It preserves knowledge that may not appear in formal history books, the customs of a people, the cycles of nature, the ways in which they understood good and evil, courage and caution. These stories often existed to guide behavior, instill values, or explain the mysteries of the natural world. A storm, a sudden illness, a change in the seasons. These were not only phenomena to be observed, but phenomena to be woven into stories that could be shared, remembered, and understood in human terms. And so, as you settle into this calm, listening space, you can sense that the story of Baba Yaga is not just entertainment. It is a vessel of wisdom, carrying insights from centuries past, waiting to be received in this very moment. As we move gently deeper into the realm of Slavic folklore, it is important to notice the way these stories often blend the familiar with the fantastical. The villages, the rivers, and the fields are places that existed, tangible and recognizable, yet alongside them dwell beings that are magical, uncanny, and sometimes frightening. Baba Yaga herself embodies this delicate balance. She exists in the shadowed edges of the forest, where the ordinary and the extraordinary intertwine. In this space, the forest is both protective and threatening, a source of sustenance and a realm of transformation. Folklore allows us to inhabit this in-between world safely, letting us explore the unknown without ever truly leaving the comfort of our own space. Listening to these stories can be like walking along a quiet path under the moonlight. Each step is measured, deliberate, and intentional, allowing the mind to notice details that might otherwise be missed: the soft rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl, the glimmer of starlight reflecting on a quiet stream. Folklore encourages this kind of mindful attention, teaching us to observe both the seen and the unseen, to listen to the silences as much as the words themselves. And so, as you breathe slowly, letting your awareness settle into the calm of this moment, the world of Baba Yaga becomes clearer, not through hurried explanation, but through gentle, immersive experience. One of the most beautiful aspects of folklore is its fluidity. There is no single, fixed version of these stories. Each teller, each listener, contributes to the way the tale lives and grows. A story told in one village may differ in small, subtle ways from the same story told in another, shaped by local customs, landscapes, and even the moods of those recounting it. This variability is part of the magic. It ensures that folklore is alive, evolving, and personal. As we explore Baba Yaga, we will encounter multiple versions of her tales, each offering a slightly different shade of her character, each adding depth to our understanding, while remaining true to the core essence of her being. Finally, folklore serves as a bridge between the known and the unknown, between safety and adventure, between the ordinary and the extraordinary. It provides a space where listeners can engage with fear and wonder safely, where the darkness of night becomes a canvas for imagination rather than something to dread. In this way, the stories of Baba Yaga are both timeless and deeply personal. They invite us to explore inner landscapes of courage, curiosity, and wisdom while keeping our hearts and minds gently cradled by the rhythm of storytelling. So now, with your mind quieting, your body settling, and your awareness attuned to the soft cadence of the night, we are ready to meet Baba Yaga herself. But before she appears in the shadows of her forest, it is essential to carry with us the understanding that folklore is not simply a story to be told, but a world to be entered. It is a living, breathing tapestry of human thought and imagination, and tonight, it is yours to wander slowly, comfortably, and with wonder. The night is deep, the world is quiet, and the story is beginning. One gentle step at a time, one whispered moment after another, as we move toward the heart of Baba Yaga's world. Now, as the night deepens and your mind drifts gently into the world of stories, it is time to meet the figure who has captured the imagination of countless generations, Baba Yaga. Her name carries weight, a soft resonance that lingers even when whispered in the quiet corners of the forest. She is not merely a character in a tale. She is an idea, a presence that exists at the boundary between the ordinary and the extraordinary. To understand her fully, it is important to see her not only as a fearsome witch, but as a being who embodies the complexity of human imagination, a creature at once terrifying and wise, distant yet familiar, shadowed yet illuminating. Baba Yaga's reputation precedes her. In some tales, she is described with features that chill the blood: long, crooked nose, eyes that glimmer with cunning, a body that is both skeletal and unervingly agile. Her gaze can pierce through the bravest hearts, revealing truths they may not be ready to face. Yet, even within these frightening depictions, there is a strange kind of wisdom, a sense that she knows more than anyone else, a being who has seen the turning of countless seasons, the ebb and flow of human lives, and the secrets that linger just beyond sight. This duality is what makes her so compelling. She is both a challenge and a guide, a mirror of our fears and a doorway to understanding. In the stories, Baba Yaga is often found at the edge of the forest, where the trees grow thick and the path becomes uncertain. The forest itself is not merely a backdrop, but an extension of her essence, a realm where the familiar world transforms into something magical and unpredictable. Here, the ordinary rules of life do not always apply. Shadows dance differently, the wind whispers secrets, and the night carries a depth that seems endless. Entering this forest is like stepping into a dream, where time slows and every sound, every movement, is magnified in the hush of night. Baba Yaga's presence is woven into this environment, making the forest itself feel alive, waiting, and watchful. Yet, despite the elements of fear, there is an undeniable fascination with her character. In some stories, she provides aid to those who show courage, cleverness, or respect. She tests the hero or heroine, setting tasks that seem impossible at first glance, and through these challenges, teaches lessons about resilience, patience, and insight. In this way, she is not purely a villain, but a guardian of thresholds, a figure who exists at the border between the known and the unknown. Her role is subtle, demanding careful attention, yet rewarding those who approach her with the right combination of courage and humility. It is also important to recognize the symbolic nature of her character. Baba Yaga embodies forces that are both natural and spiritual. She is connected to the cycles of life and death, the turning of seasons, and the hidden wisdom of the forest. Her hut, which stands on enormous chicken legs, is a moving boundary, shifting from place to place, never entirely confined. The hut is as much a part of her as her own figure, a symbol of transition and the unpredictability of life. In this way, she is a reminder that the world is not fixed, that it moves and changes in ways that can be both wondrous and unsettling. To imagine Baba Yaga fully, picture a night in the deep forest. The trees rise like ancient guardians, their branches whispering in the wind. Moonlight filters through the canopy, casting shifting patterns on the forest floor. Somewhere in the distance, a small hut moves quietly on its chicken legs, rotating slowly as though it were aware of the observer. The air carries the faint scent of herbs, smoke, and something earthier, something older that reminds one of the cycles of life itself. In the hush of the forest, every sound is magnified. The snap of a twig, the flutter of wings, the distant howl of an unseen creature. And then, from the shadows, Baba Yaga emerges, not rushing, not shouting, but appearing with the inevitability of time itself, a force that is neither wholly good nor wholly evil, but deeply, unfathomably real in the world of story. Even in her ambiguity, there is a form of intimacy. She is often depicted as a crone, old and withered, yet possessing a vitality and presence that commands attention. Her age is not weakness. It is accumulated knowledge, a lifetime spent observing, understanding, and at times, testing those who dare enter her realm. In this way, she mirrors the dual nature of life itself, the gentle and the harsh, the nurturing and the challenging, the known and the mysterious. Baba Yaga is both a reflection and a teacher, an entity whose story allows us to explore the depths of imagination while feeling the steady pulse of the human experience at its core. As you listen, allow yourself to sit quietly with this presence. Let the forest, the hut, and the figure of Baba Yaga form gently in your mind. There is no need to fear her, nor to rush through her story. Instead, approach slowly, noticing the details, the way the shadows shift, the subtle cadence of her voice carried on the wind. This is a world designed not to startle but to immerse, not to rush but to cradle, allowing your thoughts to drift along the quiet currents of the night. And so, with the first glimpse of Baba Yaga in your mind, the story begins to unfold. Her world is a place of contrasts, dark yet illuminating, fearsome yet wise, distant yet intimately tied to the rhythms of the forest and the lives of those who encounter her. We will walk slowly through this world together, observing, listening, and feeling the calm tension of her presence, all while the night stretches softly around us, inviting rest, reflection, and gentle immersion into the timeless tales that surround her. Before we step deeper into the stories of Baba Yaga, it helps to gently imagine the world in which she first appeared, the lands and lives of the ancient Slavs. Close your eyes and picture a landscape of rolling forests, wide rivers that glint softly in the moonlight, and villages nestled in quiet clearings. Smoke rises in lazy spirals from small cottages with thatched roofs, carrying the faint scent of wood and hearth fires into the crisp night air. The sounds of the forest mingle with the voices of villagers sharing evening meals, the low hum of life continuing its rhythm across generations. This is the world in which tales of Baba Yaga first took root, a world both real and alive with imagination, where humans and the mysteries of nature were intimately connected. Life in these lands moved at the pace of the seasons. Spring brought the first blooms and the stirring of the rivers, a gentle awakening that promised growth and renewal. Summer stretched long and golden, with fields of grain swaying in the wind and the forest offering shelter and sustenance. Autumn painted the trees in deep reds and golds, signaling the harvest and the preparation for the quiet, reflective months to come. Winter settled like a soft blanket over the earth, chilling the air but also inviting warmth within the homes, where families would gather and share stories. It is in this rhythm of life that folklore was born, a natural way to explain the changes of the seasons, the mysteries of the world, and the unseen forces that seem to whisper just beyond human understanding. The villages themselves were small, often built near rivers or streams for water, surrounded by dense forests that seemed to stretch endlessly. These forests were both a source of life and a realm of the unknown. They provided wood for fires, herbs for healing, and game for food, yet they also held dangers, wild animals, treacherous terrain, and spirits that could not be seen but were felt in the rustle of leaves or the sudden movement of shadows. It is here, at the threshold between village and forest, that Baba Yaga resides in stories, a figure whose presence reminds the people of the delicate balance between safety and adventure, comfort and the wild unknown. In these ancient times, people paid close attention to the natural world, listening to its rhythms and interpreting its signs. The rustling of leaves, the flight of birds, and the patterns of the stars were not merely observed. They were understood as messages, as part of a language spoken by the earth itself. Folklore was a way to encode this understanding, to share knowledge across generations in forms that were memorable and engaging. It was a gentle, imaginative guide for living, teaching lessons about respect, patience, courage, and caution, all woven into the fabric of stories that captivated both children and adults alike. As you picture this world, imagine walking slowly along a forest path. The trees rise tall, their branches forming a canopy that filters the soft silver light of the moon. The ground beneath your feet is soft with moss, and every step makes a quiet, muffled sound. Somewhere nearby, a stream winds through the trees, its water murmuring gently over rocks and fallen branches. The air is cool and carries the faint, earthy scent of soil and leaves. In this tranquil yet alive setting, the imagination naturally awakens. It is here that Baba Yaga's presence feels plausible, her stories emerging as an extension of the natural world, a reminder that magic and reality are often intertwined. The lives of the people in these villages were closely tied to the forest and the seasons, but they were also filled with everyday joys and struggles. Families worked together to tend fields, gather firewood, and prepare food, finding comfort in the rhythms of communal life. Children played near the edges of the woods, their laughter mingling with the sounds of nature, while elders shared wisdom and tales that had been passed down through generations. It is in these shared moments, in the quiet evenings by the hearth and the gentle storytelling at night, that the figure of Baba Yaga became more than just a frightening witch. She became a symbol, a part of the cultural imagination, and a thread in the rich tapestry of folklore. Baba Yaga's stories, set against this backdrop of rivers, forests, and villages, carried lessons and meanings that were deeply tied to the land. She represented both the wildness of nature and the mysteries of life, a reminder that the world is not entirely controllable, that it holds surprises, challenges, and moments of beauty that cannot always be predicted. By walking slowly through these imagined forests, listening to the whispers of the leaves and the quiet murmurs of the stream, one can sense why she became such a powerful figure, simultaneously feared, respected, and endlessly fascinating. In this ancient Slavic world, the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist seamlessly. A journey through the forest might bring someone face to face with an unusual creature, a magical being, or an unexpected challenge, yet life itself continued with gentle persistence. It is within this balance, between the familiar and the unknown, the safe and the wild, that Baba Yaga's tales find their strength and their calm, immersive power. The stories are meant to be experienced slowly, allowing the listener to feel the forest, the village, and the night as intimately as the characters themselves do. So, as you continue to breathe slowly and evenly, imagine this world fully: the small cottages, the deep forests, the winding rivers, and the cycles of life that ebb and flow with serene inevitability. In this gentle, quiet place, the story of Baba Yaga will unfold naturally, drawing you deeper into a world where imagination and reality intertwine, where the forest is alive, and where every whispered tale carries with it the pulse of life, the rhythm of the night, and the soft magic of old Slavic folklore. As the forest deepens and the night stretches quietly around us, the most iconic image of Baba Yaga begins to take form. Her hut, perched upon enormous chicken legs, turning slowly as if aware of its own existence. Picture it in your mind's eye: a small, wooden house with crooked walls and a roof patched with weathered shingles, standing not on the familiar earth, but elevated on long, spindly legs that lifted above the forest floor. It rotates slowly, pivoting in place, facing different directions as if scanning the trees for intruders or visitors. The hut is surrounded by a subtle haze, a mist that seems to rise from the earth itself, curling around the wooden beams and lingering in the air, softening edges and heightening the sense of otherworldliness. In this quiet, imagined forest, the hut becomes more than a dwelling. It becomes a symbol, a living presence in Baba Yaga's domain. This house is not simply a place to live. It is a boundary, marking the edge between the ordinary world of villages and the extraordinary realm of the forest. It stands as both a warning and an invitation, a space where the rules of life are different, and where encounters can change the course of a story forever. From afar, it may appear eerie, mysterious, even menacing. Its movement, unusual and unpredictable, gives the sense that nothing within this forest is fixed, that everything is alive, shifting, and infused with a quiet, careful intelligence. And yet, for those who approach with courage or respect, it holds the promise of guidance, of wisdom, or perhaps of a challenge that is meant to teach. Imagine slowly walking closer, each step careful on the moss-covered ground. The legs of the hut stretch long and narrow, each one jointed in a way that recalls the movement of a bird, the careful, deliberate step of a creature that is both familiar and strange. The hut can lift, sway, or pivot without warning, emphasizing that this is no ordinary structure. It is a reflection of the mysterious powers that Baba Yaga herself embodies. Around the hut, the forest is hushed, the leaves whispering softly in the gentle wind, as though holding their breath in anticipation of what may come next. There is a sense of reverence here, a recognition that some things in the world are meant to be approached slowly, with attention and care. The hut's interior, when glimpsed in tales, is equally strange and enchanting. Inside, it may be filled with herbs hanging from beams, jars containing mysterious ingredients, and objects both familiar and otherworldly arranged with deliberate precision. The hearth often burns with a quiet, steady fire, casting shadows that seem to dance across the walls in rhythms all their own. This is a space of duality, like Baba Yaga herself, simultaneously inviting and intimidating, a place of potential warmth and potential danger. It is a microcosm of the forest beyond its walls, a place where ordinary expectations are suspended and the extraordinary is possible. Surrounding the hut, the folklore often describes a boundary marked with skulls or other symbols, subtle reminders of the consequences of missteps. Yet, even in this imagery, there is not pure cruelty, but a layered symbolism. The skulls are markers, thresholds, and signposts indicating the seriousness of the space and the need for respect. Approaching the hut slowly, with patience and mindfulness, transforms the experience from one of fear to one of quiet observation, an opportunity to sense the rhythm and logic of Baba Yaga's world. It is a place that encourages awareness, teaching the traveler to move thoughtfully, observe closely, and recognize that in the forest, as in life, the unusual often holds the deepest lessons. The hut's movement on chicken legs also conveys the fluidity of life and the natural world in Slavic imagination. Unlike static structures, it shifts and adapts, much like the forest itself. It reminds us that the world is not rigid, that the safe paths we know may change, and that being attuned to our surroundings is essential. The hut becomes a living character in its own right, an extension of Baba Yaga's power and her role as a liminal figure. Its slow rotation and unusual gait encourage the imagination to expand, to consider the unexpected, and to embrace the gentle tension between fear and fascination. In the hush of night, the hut takes on an almost hypnotic quality. Imagine watching it from a safe distance, seeing the legs pivot, imagining the floors inside creaking softly as though the house itself is breathing. Perhaps a faint light flickers from a window, hinting at movement, at life within. The wind carries the soft scent of herbs, smoke, and earth, grounding the imagination even as the unusual structure stretches the mind toward wonder. In this stillness, the hut feels like a quiet meditation on the balance between the familiar and the uncanny, the domestic and the magical, the safe and the mysterious. For those traveling the forest paths and stories, the hut marks a moment of pause, a gentle challenge, a threshold where courage, respect, and insight must be measured. Approaching it slowly allows the traveler to attune to the forest and to Baba Yaga herself, preparing for the tasks or guidance that may follow. In the calming rhythm of the night, this image of the hut moving on chicken legs becomes a meditation on the interplay between human understanding and the mysteries of the natural and magical world. It encourages a slow, mindful awareness, a recognition that beauty and strangeness often coexist, and that wisdom may be hidden in places that initially seem frightening. And so, as you continue to breathe gently and evenly, imagine this hut as more than a mere setting. Let it become a living presence in your mind, a quiet reminder of the layered nature of Baba Yaga's world. Feel the soft tension of anticipation, the gentle pull of curiosity, and the calm respect that arises when encountering something profoundly otherworldly. The hut on chicken legs stands as an enduring symbol, bridging the world of humans with the realm of magic, reminding us that in folklore, as in life, patience, attention, and a gentle courage often reveal the richest truths. Now that the hut has settled in your imagination, slowly turning upon its chicken legs in the quiet forest, it is time to meet Baba Yaga herself. Imagine her stepping from the shadows, a figure who is at once unsettling and mesmerizing, a presence that carries the weight of centuries, the deep knowing of someone who has witnessed the passage of countless seasons. She moves with a quiet assurance, her gaze both piercing and reflective, as if she can see not only the world before her, but also the hearts of those who approach. Baba Yaga is not merely a witch in the ordinary sense. She is a force of nature, a symbol of the liminal space between the familiar and the unknown, a figure who embodies both fear and wisdom. Her appearance is striking, yet fluid in the tales, shifting slightly depending on the story and the teller. In some versions, she is described as old and withered, with skin wrinkled like the bark of the ancient trees surrounding her. Her eyes are said to gleam with a mixture of cunning and knowledge, able to read the intentions of anyone who crosses her path. Her long, crooked nose is often mentioned, giving her a silhouette that is immediately recognizable in the imagination. In other versions, she is almost skeletal, a being who seems touched by both life and death, reminding listeners that the forest and the world itself contain cycles beyond human understanding. Yet, even in these eerie depictions, there is a magnetism, a sense that she possesses secrets and wisdom far beyond ordinary comprehension. Baba Yaga is not simply frightening for the sake of fear. Her power is subtle and deliberate. She embodies the unpredictability of the forest, the duality of life and death, and the boundaries between childhood and adulthood, safety and danger. When she appears in stories, it is rarely without purpose. She tests the courage and cleverness of those who enter her domain, offering challenges that seem impossible but that reveal deeper truths when approached with patience and intelligence. In this way, she serves not only as a figure of caution but also as a teacher, guiding those who are willing to listen and learn, even if her lessons are delivered through discomfort or fear. Her presence in the forest is accompanied by an array of subtle signs. Perhaps a breeze stirs, carrying the scent of herbs, smoke, or earth. Perhaps shadows shift unnaturally. Perhaps a faint, almost musical whisper trails on the air. These details are never overwhelming but are instead meant to draw attention, encouraging slow, careful observation. Baba Yaga exists in harmony with her surroundings, and the forest itself seems to respond to her presence. Leaves rustle softly as if in recognition, branches sway gently, and the quiet murmur of the forest floor becomes a backdrop to her figure. She is, in essence, a living part of the landscape, as natural as the trees and rivers, yet undeniably extraordinary. In some stories, Baba Yaga carries objects that heighten her enigmatic character. A broom to sweep away traces, a mortar and pestle for flight, or various herbs and potions, each with hidden properties. These items are extensions of her power, symbols of her connection to the natural and magical world. They are not merely tools but reminders of the layers of meaning in her character. That she is a guardian of thresholds, a keeper of knowledge, and a being whose actions are deliberate and meaningful. Each object contributes to the sense of her as a figure both practical and mystical, grounded in the natural world while reaching into realms beyond ordinary perception. Her character is also deeply ambiguous. She is not simply good or evil. She is complex, a reflection of life itself. In some tales, she may act as a helper, rewarding those who demonstrate cleverness, courage, or respect. In others, she may punish those who act rashly or without awareness of the consequences of their actions. This duality is what makes her endlessly fascinating, a character who cannot be fully anticipated, whose presence commands respect and careful attention. She embodies the idea that wisdom and fear often coexist, that understanding comes from observing, listening, and engaging with the unknown rather than trying to conquer or control it. Baba Yaga's movements and gestures are often described with quiet precision. She may glide across the forest floor, almost floating, or move with deliberate steps, each one measured and purposeful. Her voice, when she speaks, carries a resonance that seems to echo through the trees, soft yet commanding, capable of soothing or startling depending on her intention. In this way, she exerts influence not through loud force or aggression, but through subtlety, presence, and the careful application of her knowledge. The listener, or the traveler in the story, is invited to mirror this approach, to move slowly, observe deeply, and attune to the rhythms of the forest and of Baba Yaga herself. Despite her sometimes frightening attributes, there is a strange intimacy to her character. She is often portrayed as old and wise, and in her wisdom, there is a form of recognition, as if she understands the struggles, fears, and hopes of those who come to her. She is a mirror, reflecting back the qualities of those who seek her, and in doing so, offers them the chance to learn about themselves. This reflective aspect, coupled with her unpredictability, makes her a deeply compelling figure, one whose presence lingers long after the story has been told, whose influence seeps quietly into the imagination. In the hush of the forest, with the hut turning slowly behind her and the night carrying the soft scent of herbs and earth, Baba Yaga becomes a meditation on the balance between fear and respect, between caution and curiosity. She teaches us that the unknown need not be conquered, but observed, that challenges exist not to terrify, but to reveal, and that wisdom is often found at the edges of the familiar, in the quiet, liminal spaces where life and magic intersect. As you continue to breathe slowly, let the image of Baba Yaga settle in your mind. See her not as a figure to flee from, but as one to be noticed, to be approached with patience and reflection. Allow her presence to guide you gently into the forest, into the story, and into the unfolding narrative that moves slowly, deliberately, and soothingly through the world of Slavic folklore. In her eyes, in her movements, and in her very being, we begin to glimpse the complexity, depth, and enduring fascination of a character who has survived the passage of centuries, continuing to teach, challenge, and inspire even in the quietest of nights. As the figure of Baba Yaga becomes clearer in your imagination, the forest around her begins to take on its own character, becoming more than a backdrop. It becomes a living, breathing presence, a realm of both wonder and caution. The forest is ancient, with trees stretching high into the sky, their branches weaving together to form a soft, shadowed canopy that filters the moonlight into delicate patterns on the forest floor. The ground is soft with moss and fallen leaves, muffling the sound of footsteps and creating a sense of quiet intimacy. Each tree, each rock, and each whispering leaf seems to hold a memory, a story, a secret waiting to be noticed by those who move slowly and attentively through this space. The forest in Baba Yaga's tales is not merely a physical space, but a symbolic one, representing the unknown, the threshold between safety and adventure, childhood and maturity, comfort and challenge. To enter this forest is to step into a world where the ordinary rules no longer fully apply. Shadows shift in unexpected ways. The wind carries voices that are almost whispers, and every rustle of leaves hints at life unseen. It is a place that tests those who traverse it, encouraging mindfulness, courage, and insight. In this quiet, immersive way, the forest itself becomes a character, teaching lessons even before Baba Yaga appears within it. Imagine walking slowly through this forest. The trees seem to lean gently toward one another, forming tunnels of branches that sway softly in the night breeze. The air carries a cool, earthy scent, a mixture of soil, moss, and the faint aroma of herbs carried from Baba Yaga's hut. A small stream winds lazily through the undergrowth, its waters murmuring softly over smooth stones. Birds of the night call from the canopy, their songs echoing with a gentle rhythm that guides the footsteps of the traveler. Every detail of the forest is heightened in this quiet space, inviting observation and reflection rather than hurry or alarm. Within the forest, paths twist and turn unpredictably. One might follow a narrow trail that seems familiar, only to find it leading deeper into the unknown, surrounded by trees that appear both protective and watchful. Fallen branches and mossy logs mark the way, sometimes creating obstacles, sometimes serving as guides. The forest is a test not just of physical navigation, but of perception and patience. Those who move with careful attention, who notice the subtle cues of light, shadow, and sound, are often the ones who reach Baba Yaga's hut, ready for the challenges and lessons she may offer. The symbolism of the forest extends beyond caution. It represents growth, transformation, and the journey toward understanding. In the tales, those who enter the forest often begin as inexperienced, uncertain, or fearful, and by the time they encounter Baba Yaga, they have already begun to change. The forest, with its quiet challenges and subtle beauty, prepares them for what is to come. Its shadows are not simply menacing. They encourage attentiveness and reflection, fostering qualities like courage, cleverness, and humility. The forest is, in essence, a gentle teacher, its lessons embedded in the very environment itself. In addition to its symbolic meaning, the forest is described with rich sensory detail, designed to immerse the listener fully in the world of the story. Imagine the soft crunch of leaves underfoot, the whisper of a branch brushing against another, the distant splash of a fish leaping in a stream. Perhaps a gentle mist rises from the forest floor, softening the shapes of the trees and lending an ethereal quality to the scene. Every sound and smell is magnified in the stillness of night, drawing the listener into a slow, meditative awareness of the environment. In this way, the forest becomes a space for deep immersion, a canvas upon which the imagination can wander freely and safely. The forest also serves as a space for moral and emotional testing. Those who enter may face fear, uncertainty, or hesitation, and how they respond often determines the outcome of their journey. In many stories, the forest is filled with subtle cues, some encouraging, some warning, and others challenging. Observing the environment with care, interpreting its signs, and moving thoughtfully are essential skills for the traveler. In this manner, the forest mirrors the inner journey of the hero or heroine, offering a quiet reflection of patience, courage, and attentiveness that extends beyond the physical path. As you continue to imagine this forest, notice how it feels alive with intention. The wind carries whispers not meant to frighten, but to guide. The rustling leaves suggest paths and possibilities. The shadows hold neither malice nor threat, but quiet mysteries waiting to be understood. Baba Yaga herself exists harmoniously within this environment, her presence amplified by the forest's energy and her lessons magnified by its natural complexity. The forest and Baba Yaga are intertwined, each shaping the perception of the other, and together they create a realm where imagination, caution, and wonder coexist beautifully. In this quiet, immersive space, the forest becomes more than a setting. It is a reflection of the journey every listener takes as they explore the story, a journey into patience, awareness, courage, and reflection. The forest invites slow movement, careful observation, and gentle attention to detail, fostering a sense of calm even as the mind engages with mystery and anticipation. It teaches that the path to understanding is not always straightforward, that progress often requires thoughtfulness, and that beauty and wisdom are often hidden in subtle, understated places. And so, as you continue to breathe slowly and let your awareness settle into the rhythm of the forest, imagine yourself moving gently along its paths, attuned to every sound, every shadow, every shift of the wind. This is the space where the story of Baba Yaga unfolds, where the ordinary and extraordinary blend, and where lessons are learned not through haste, but through careful, mindful engagement with the world around you. The forest is alive, the night is quiet, and the journey is just beginning, leading ever closer to the heart of Baba Yaga's realm, where wonder and reflection await. As the forest stretches endlessly around us and the path beneath our feet winds gently through moss and fallen leaves, we can begin to hear the echoes of the earliest tales of Baba Yaga. These stories, passed down by generations long before they were written, are like faint whispers carried on the night wind, delicate threads connecting the imagination of those who came before us with the world we now inhabit. In these early folktales, Baba Yaga is both familiar and mysterious, her presence emerging slowly from the shadows, as if the forest itself is reluctant to reveal her all at once. The tales are varied, shifting slightly depending on who told them, which village they came from, and even the season in which they were shared. Yet within these variations, a central figure remains, Baba Yaga, enigmatic, powerful, and deeply intertwined with the rhythms of the natural world. In many of these early folk tales, she is portrayed not as a simple witch or villain, but as a guardian of thresholds, a being who exists at the edges of human understanding. She inhabits the liminal spaces, the moments where life and magic overlap, where safety gives way to challenge, and where the ordinary meets the extraordinary. Travelers, heroes, or children venturing into the forest often encounter her unexpectedly, and their reactions determine the course of the story. Some tales describe her as fearsome, testing the courage and wisdom of those who enter her domain. Others present her as a source of guidance or hidden knowledge, rewarding those who show respect, cleverness, or bravery. This duality is one of the hallmarks of her character, and it is a theme that appears consistently throughout the earliest narratives. In one type of tale, she might appear at a crossroads in the forest, where the paths diverge and uncertainty reigns. Here, she sets tasks that seem impossible, each carefully designed to challenge the traveler's resolve. Yet, these tasks are rarely meaningless. They carry lessons, subtle guidance, and opportunities for growth. The traveler who observes carefully, thinks creatively, and acts with integrity often finds that Baba Yaga's tests are transformative, shaping them into someone wiser, braver, or more self-aware. In this way, the early folktales emphasize the balance between caution and curiosity, showing that approaching the unknown with attentiveness and respect can lead to unexpected rewards. Other early stories present Baba Yaga as a more fearsome figure, a cautionary presence whose actions warn against rashness or disrespect. She might appear as a skeletal figure with piercing eyes, wielding powers that are both subtle and overwhelming. Yet even in these tales, there is a rhythm, a gentle pacing that allows the listener to absorb the story slowly, to notice the details of the forest, the path, and the character herself. The fear is not meant to startle or shock. It is meant to cultivate awareness, encouraging a sense of mindfulness and respect for the forces that exist beyond ordinary perception. In some early narratives, Baba Yaga is associated with natural cycles, the turning of seasons, the growth of crops, the ebb and flow of rivers. Her actions often reflect these rhythms, and her presence reminds the listener that life itself contains periods of challenge and renewal. By situating her within the forest and within the cycles of nature, these stories emphasize that she is not merely a creature of fantasy, but a symbolic figure whose meaning is tied to the world as it was experienced by the people who created the tales. Her tests and guidance echo the rhythms of life, teaching that patience, observation, and adaptability are essential qualities for navigating both the forest and the larger world. Early folktales also explore the ambiguity of her morality. She is neither wholly good nor wholly evil. Instead, she exists in a space that encourages reflection, attention, and growth. Travelers who approach her with arrogance or fearlessness may encounter hardship, while those who act with humility and thoughtfulness may receive guidance or protection. In this way, the stories function as gentle lessons in ethics and awareness, showing that wisdom is cultivated through action, reflection, and respect for the world around us. In addition to her moral ambiguity, Baba Yaga's interactions in these early tales highlight the importance of resourcefulness. Many of the stories depict travelers facing tasks or situations that require cleverness, creativity, and perseverance. The forest, her hut, and the objects she possesses, her broom, her mortar, and her potions, become part of a larger narrative puzzle, each element offering both challenge and opportunity. The listener is invited to imagine these trials, to consider how they might respond, and to engage with the narrative not passively, but as a participant in the unfolding story. This immersive quality is a hallmark of early Slavic folktales, and it contributes to the enduring power of Baba Yaga as a figure of fascination and reflection. Even in tales that are centuries old, there is a quiet, deliberate pacing that encourages relaxation, observation, and contemplation. The forests are described with attention to sound, scent, and movement, creating a sensory-rich environment that draws the listener in. The tasks Baba Yaga sets are often detailed with gentle specificity, giving the audience time to picture each action, to feel the rhythm of the story, and to imagine themselves moving carefully through the forest alongside the characters. The calm, immersive quality of these early narratives makes them particularly suited to bedtime storytelling, allowing the mind to wander thoughtfully while remaining soothed by the measured pace and the subtle lessons embedded in the story. As we reflect on these earliest tales, we can see how they establish the core elements that define Baba Yaga. Her connection to the forest and nature, her duality as both fearsome and wise, her role as a tester of courage and insight, and her embodiment of liminality, the space between known and unknown, safety and challenge, life and transformation. These early stories serve as a foundation for the countless variations that would follow, each adding nuance and depth to a character who continues to captivate imaginations even today. So, as you continue to breathe slowly, let the whispers of these early tales drift around you. Imagine the forest alive with the soft movement of leaves, the distant murmurs of streams, and the quiet presence of Baba Yaga herself, watching, testing, and guiding. In these stories, passed down through generations, there is a gentle rhythm, a calm pacing that invites you to observe, reflect, and imagine, preparing your mind to continue the journey through the rich and mysterious world of Slavic folklore. Among the many tales in which Baba Yaga appears, one of the most enduring and beloved is the story of Vasilisa the Beautiful. This story has been told and retold for generations, carrying within it the gentle rhythm of challenge and discovery, fear and wisdom. It begins, as many bedtime stories do, in a quiet village where life moves slowly according to the rhythm of the seasons. There, a young girl named Vasilisa lives with her family. Her early life is marked by a simplicity and warmth, but also by the delicate shadows of hardship, loss, and the uncertainties that accompany growing up. From the very beginning, Vasilisa is depicted as kind, gentle, and perceptive, qualities that will guide her through the story and allow her to navigate the challenges she will encounter. Vasilisa's mother, a figure of warmth and protection, senses the fragility of life and the importance of imparting wisdom before she must leave the world. Before her death, she gives Vasilisa a small, magical doll, instructing her to care for it and listen to it carefully. The doll, though small and seemingly simple, carries within it a quiet power, a guide, a protector, and a subtle source of counsel for the challenges ahead. It is a reminder that wisdom and support can come in the most unexpected forms, and that guidance often exists quietly, waiting for the right moment to act. The doll's presence introduces a gentle, magical element into the story, softening its darker aspects and providing a companion for Vasilisa as she moves forward. Following her mother's passing, Vasilisa's life becomes more difficult. She is left in the care of her stepmother and stepsisters, who treat her with cruelty and envy. The household, once a place of warmth, becomes heavy with tension and unkindness, and Vasilisa finds herself isolated, yet still possessing the quiet strength and goodness that her mother instilled in her. In these early hardships, the story emphasizes resilience, patience, and inner strength, qualities that resonate with listeners even as they prepare to drift into sleep. The gentle pacing of the narrative allows the mind to absorb the lessons of perseverance, kindness, and awareness without urgency, fostering reflection rather than alarm. One day, Vasilisa's stepmother, hoping to rid herself of the girl's presence, sends her on a daunting task, to visit Baba Yaga and request fire for their home. The forest, the hut, and Baba Yaga herself become the next stage of Vasilisa's journey. Imagine her stepping slowly into the forest, each footfall soft on moss and leaves, the air cool and fragrant with earth and herbs. Shadows stretch and shift, and the distant murmur of streams and rustle of leaves accompanies her movement. There is a quiet tension in the air, not meant to startle, but to heighten awareness, to allow the listener to immerse themselves fully in the forest's rhythm. As she approaches the forest's edge, the iconic hut on chicken legs appears in the distance, slowly pivoting, aware of her presence. Vasilisa, though understandably nervous, carries the quiet strength cultivated through her early experiences. Her movements are deliberate, cautious, yet infused with curiosity and respect. She knows, in the gentle logic of the story, that the forest is not just a place of danger, but a realm of learning, where each challenge and observation contributes to understanding and growth. The hut, alive in its own right, embodies this delicate balance of risk and reward. Vasilisa's journey toward Baba Yaga introduces the themes of observation, attentiveness, and cleverness. As she navigates the forest, she must pay attention to subtle cues, the whisper of leaves, the direction of the path, and the presence of small signs that guide her. These narrative details encourage the listener to move mentally at the same measured pace, absorbing the atmosphere and sensing the forest as a living entity. The story reminds us that success often comes not from haste or force, but from patience, mindfulness, and careful interaction with the world around us. Upon reaching Baba Yaga, Vasilisa demonstrates both courage and tact. She does not rush or confront the witch with fear or aggression. Instead, she presents herself with respect, humility, and quiet confidence. In doing so, she embodies the qualities that the forest and the witch require for safe passage. The interactions that follow are imbued with the gentle tension of expectation and challenge. Baba Yaga may issue tasks or observe Vasilisa with a discerning gaze, testing her patience, ingenuity, and moral awareness. These moments are designed not for shock, but for reflective engagement, allowing the listener to feel the weight and rhythm of the story as it unfolds slowly and deliberately. Throughout the tale, the magical doll continues to serve as Vasilisa's quiet guide, offering subtle advice and reassurance. Its presence underscores the story's gentle magic, reminding the listener that support and wisdom often exist quietly, and that paying attention to small, seemingly insignificant details can lead to understanding and safety. This element reinforces the story's immersive qualities, encouraging slow, attentive listening and mindful engagement with the narrative. The tale of Vasilisa the Beautiful in this early part of the story sets the stage for her encounter with Baba Yaga and the subsequent lessons and transformations she will experience. It emphasizes the balance between courage and caution, the value of inner strength, and the importance of careful observation in navigating the world's uncertainties. The forest, the hut, and the witch together create an environment where growth and understanding are cultivated gently, encouraging the listener to move slowly, breathe deeply, and reflect on the story's lessons as they drift toward rest. In this way, the story serves both as entertainment and as a meditation, blending folklore, moral reflection, and the calming rhythm of the forest and night. Vasilisa's journey encourages a deep, reflective engagement with the story, allowing the listener to inhabit the world fully, sensing the forest, the hut, and Baba Yaga herself with each careful, deliberate step. This careful pacing, rich sensory detail, and gentle moral guidance make the tale ideally suited to the calm, immersive storytelling style designed for bedtime listening and relaxation. Having arrived at Baba Yaga's hut, Vasilisa the Beautiful now faces the heart of her journey, the challenges and tasks that the witch sets before her. The forest has guided her here, and the magical doll her mother gave her continues to offer quiet counsel, a small companion of wisdom and reassurance. Imagine Vasilisa stepping carefully across the forest floor, the air thick with the gentle scent of moss, earth, and herbs, while the hut on chicken legs shifts ever so slightly, as if adjusting to her presence. The world slows around her, each detail, the soft rustle of leaves, the murmur of a nearby stream, the faint creak of the hut's legs, becomes part of the rhythm of her approach. The story invites the listener to slow their own pace, to breathe gently, and to enter fully into the quiet, suspenseful world of the forest and the witch. Upon entering the hut, Vasilisa is immediately aware that nothing is ordinary. The interior is filled with a peculiar arrangement of objects, shelves lined with jars of herbs, small pots, and ingredients whose purposes are not immediately clear. A hearth burns softly, casting gentle shadows across crooked walls, and the air carries the mingling sense of smoke and subtle magic. Baba Yaga herself observes Vasilisa closely, her eyes glimmering with intelligence and curiosity. She does not speak immediately, allowing silence to fill the space, a silence that teaches patience and awareness. Vasilisa's first task is often presented as a simple, practical one, to complete chores that seem overwhelming, impossible, or mysterious. Yet each task is carefully designed to test her qualities, attention, diligence, and cleverness, reminding us that the forest and Baba Yaga are as much about teaching as they are about challenge. The tasks vary depending on the story, but they often include sweeping the hut until it shines, sorting grains or seeds, or gathering rare ingredients from the forest under Baba Yaga's subtle guidance. Each task requires careful observation, slow and deliberate action, and the ability to notice details that might otherwise be overlooked. The magical doll aids Vasilisa quietly, offering advice in a whisper, reminding her of the small steps and careful choices that will lead to success. In this way, the tale emphasizes mindfulness, approaching each moment thoughtfully, paying attention to both the seen and unseen, and acting with deliberate intention rather than haste or panic. While Vasilisa works, Baba Yaga watches silently, her presence both unsettling and instructive. The witch may speak rarely, but when she does, her words are measured, each one carrying weight. Sometimes her tone is sharp, testing Vasilisa's patience or humility. Other times, it is instructive, guiding the girl towards subtle insights she might not have noticed otherwise. In this careful interplay, the story teaches that learning often comes through observation, reflection, and thoughtful action, rather than through direct instruction alone. The listener is invited to mirror this approach, noticing the rhythm of the tasks, the atmosphere of the hut, and the quiet lessons embedded in each moment. As Vasilisa completes her chores, she encounters moments that test more than her practical abilities. They test her character. For instance, she may be tempted to rush through a task out of fear or impatience, but her gentle awareness and reliance on the doll's guidance remind her to slow down, to act thoughtfully, and to trust in her own resourcefulness. These moments are not presented with urgency or fear, but with a calm rhythm that encourages reflection, allowing the audience to experience the narrative in a way that is both engaging and soothing. Every step, every careful motion, becomes part of a meditation on patience, awareness, and the cultivation of inner strength. In addition to practical tasks, Vasilisa's journey inside the hut may involve symbolic or magical challenges. She might be asked to recognize hidden patterns, to prepare ingredients in a specific order, or to navigate spaces that seem disorienting. These tasks mirror the journey of life itself, emphasizing adaptability, attentiveness, and the balance between action and observation. By presenting these challenges slowly, in rich sensory detail, the story allows the listener to inhabit Vasilisa's perspective fully, imagining the textures, scents, and subtle movements of the hut, while simultaneously absorbing the quiet lessons embedded in each challenge. Throughout the story, the hut itself seems alive. Its shifting structure, the soft creaking of its chicken legs, and the quiet hum of magic in the air create a sense that Vasilisa is participating in a living, dynamic environment. The space is simultaneously familiar and strange, comforting and tense, inviting careful attention without overwhelming the listener. This rhythm of gentle tension and resolution mirrors the pacing of the story itself, encouraging a slow, immersive engagement that is ideal for bedtime storytelling and relaxation. The culmination of these tasks often leads to a moment of quiet triumph. Vasilisa, having approached each challenge with patience, cleverness, and humility, completes the chores and navigates the subtle magical tests set before her. Baba Yaga, though enigmatic and unpredictable, acknowledges the girl's success, either through direct reward or the granting of fire, knowledge, or another form of guidance that she came seeking. In this resolution, the story emphasizes that thoughtful action, respect for wisdom, and the balance of courage and observation can lead to meaningful outcomes, even in the face of uncertainty or challenge. Finally, as Vasilisa leaves the hut, the forest seems to exhale gently, the air softening, the shadows shifting to a more tranquil rhythm. The hut retreats slowly into the distance, returning to its rotation and waiting for the next visitor who may approach the threshold. Vasilisa carries not only the literal reward of her tasks, but also the quiet wisdom gained from her experiences. Patience, cleverness, respect for the unknown, and the understanding that guidance often comes in subtle, unexpected forms. The story concludes with a sense of calm, reflection, and continuity, leaving the listener immersed in the forest's quiet magic, ready to drift deeper into contemplation or sleep. As Vasilisa steps away from Baba Yaga's hut and the soft glow of the forest settles around her, it becomes clear that her journey was more than a series of tasks or challenges. It was a careful lesson, woven into the story through subtle symbolism, moral reflection, and quiet guidance. Baba Yaga, in all her complexity, serves as a teacher who embodies both the fearsome and the wise, the unpredictable and the instructive. In this way, she represents a broader set of truths about life, the natural world, and the inner journey of human experience. To understand these lessons is to immerse oneself fully in the layered meanings that Slavic folklore offers, allowing the mind to wander gently through the forest of reflection while the body and soul relax into the rhythm of the night. One of the central lessons of Baba Yaga's tales is the idea of duality, the coexistence of opposing forces, the balance between fear and respect, challenge and reward, life and death. Her very presence is a reminder that nothing in the world is entirely one-sided. She is both frightening and instructive, dangerous yet offering guidance, demanding yet rewarding. This duality encourages reflection, teaching that the world is complex and that understanding often comes not from avoidance or fear, but from careful observation, attention, and thoughtful action. The forest, her hut, and her tasks all reinforce this theme, providing a subtle, immersive meditation on balance, perspective, and awareness. Another lesson is the importance of courage, particularly the quiet, steady kind that does not rely on bravado but on thoughtful action. Vasilisa's journey illustrates that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it, guided by inner wisdom and careful attention. The magical doll, her companion and guide, symbolizes this inner resource, the quiet voice of intuition, knowledge, and discernment that supports action without overwhelming it. The narrative encourages the listener to recognize that courage is often nurtured through preparation, patience, and mindfulness, and that success is more likely when approached with respect and awareness rather than haste or recklessness. Patience and attentiveness are recurring themes throughout Baba Yaga's lessons. Each task and challenge she sets is designed to test these qualities, rewarding those who notice subtle cues, respond thoughtfully, and maintain focus even when confronted with difficulty or uncertainty. The forest itself, alive with movement and sound, becomes a mirror for this lesson. The rustling leaves, the murmuring streams, the shadows stretching and shifting, all invite careful attention and slow observation. In this way, the listener learns, without direct instruction, that mindfulness is both a tool and a virtue, cultivating clarity, insight, and readiness for the unexpected. The stories also explore the value of cleverness and ingenuity. Vasilisa succeeds not through physical strength or sheer force, but through resourcefulness, problem-solving, and the ability to interpret subtle signals. Baba Yaga's tasks encourage adaptive thinking, creative solutions, and the recognition that sometimes the simplest, most deliberate approach is the most effective. This quiet lesson mirrors real-life situations, showing that intelligence, observation, and adaptability are often more powerful than fear, aggression, or impatience. The narrative unfolds slowly, allowing these insights to seep gently into the listener's mind, creating a calm yet attentive state ideal for reflection or sleep. Respect for the forest, for knowledge, for the unseen, is another core teaching of Baba Yaga. Those who approach her with humility and attentiveness are often rewarded, while those who act with arrogance or carelessness may face setbacks or challenges. This moral structure is not punitive in a harsh sense, but natural, echoing the rhythms of life and the forest itself. It emphasizes that actions have consequences and that awareness, reverence, and thoughtful engagement with the world cultivate safety, understanding, and personal growth. The forest, the hut, and Baba Yaga herself are constant reminders that the world contains layers of meaning, and that patience, care, and observation are necessary to navigate them successfully. The symbolic nature of Baba Yaga extends to the cycles of life and the passage of time. Her connection to the forest, the seasons, and the turning of natural events situates her as a figure deeply entwined with continuity, growth, and transformation. She teaches that challenges are temporary, that guidance often comes from unexpected sources, and that life contains opportunities for renewal and insight even in the midst of difficulty. Vasilisa's journey illustrates these themes gently and reflectively. She begins in hardship, encounters testing and fear, and emerges wiser, more confident, and more attuned to the rhythms of the world around her. In addition, Baba Yaga's ambiguity, her capacity to be both helper and tester, encourages reflection on the complexities of morality and human behavior. She embodies the idea that life is rarely simple, that understanding requires nuanced perception, and that wisdom emerges from careful observation and thoughtful action. By presenting her as neither wholly good nor wholly evil, the tales invite the listener to embrace the subtleties of experience, recognizing that challenges and guidance often coexist, and that growth often comes through engagement with uncertainty rather than avoidance of it. Even the sensory elements of her world, the creaking of her hut, the rustle of forest leaves, the glow of the hearth, the subtle aroma of herbs, reinforce these lessons. They draw the listener into a slow, reflective state, allowing the mind to notice patterns, rhythms, and relationships while remaining calm and engaged. The forest, the hut, and the tasks all function as a layered meditation on observation, patience, respect, and awareness, creating an immersive environment where moral and practical lessons are absorbed gently rather than imposed. Finally, Baba Yaga's stories remind us that transformation often arises from challenge. Vasilisa's journey demonstrates that engagement with difficulty, approached thoughtfully, leads to insight, growth, and empowerment. The combination of courage, patience, attentiveness, respect, and cleverness ensures not only survival, but personal development. The forest, the tasks, and Baba Yaga herself guide this transformation subtly, creating a narrative rhythm that is both calming and instructive, allowing the listener to internalize the lessons in a gentle, contemplative way. In this way, Baba Yaga's lessons unfold slowly, like the turning of leaves in the wind, offering insight, moral reflection, and a gentle meditation on life, courage, and awareness. Her presence, her challenges, and the forest itself create a space for reflection, where the listener can move thoughtfully through both the narrative and their own imagination, feeling the rhythm of the story and the quiet wisdom that emerges from it. By attending to these lessons, one can carry the calm, attentive energy of the forest, the hut, and Baba Yaga into the rest of the night, fostering relaxation, reflection, and the soft glow of understanding. As Vasilisa's journey fades gently into the distance, we can pause to reflect on Baba Yaga's larger presence within Russian culture and mythology, a presence that stretches far beyond any single story. She is not merely a character in folk tales. She is a symbol woven into the very fabric of Slavic imagination, a figure who embodies both cultural memory and the subtle wisdom of generations. Imagine the forests, rivers, and villages of old Russia, where stories were passed from parent to child, often in the calm of evening, by firesides and in quiet rooms. It was in these intimate moments that Baba Yaga took shape in the collective imagination, becoming a marker of cultural identity, a reflection of human fears, and a guide for moral and practical understanding. In Russian folklore, Baba Yaga is considered a guardian of thresholds, the liminal spaces between the known and unknown, the safe and the dangerous, the ordinary and the magical. She exists at the edges of perception, where life's complexities are most keenly felt, and where human awareness is tested and refined. Her figure embodies the duality of nature and human experience, showing that life contains both nurturing and peril, reward and challenge. Through this duality, she teaches lessons about balance, respect, and mindfulness, lessons that were essential in a world closely connected to the natural environment and the rhythms of seasonal change. Historically, the figure of Baba Yaga appears in a variety of texts, oral traditions, and later literary works, reflecting her adaptability and enduring significance. In villages, she was often invoked in stories as a way of instilling caution in children, guiding behavior through narrative rather than direct admonition. Parents might describe the forest as her domain, a place both beautiful and treacherous, where children needed to move carefully and pay attention to the world around them. At the same time, Baba Yaga's presence offered a form of moral education. Tales of cleverness, humility, and attentiveness were embodied in her interactions, teaching qualities necessary for navigating both the forest and life itself. Beyond her role in folklore, Baba Yaga has been interpreted in mythology as a symbol of natural and supernatural forces. Her connection to the forest, her hut on chicken legs, and her unpredictable yet purposeful actions all tie her to the cycles of nature and the unseen currents that shape human experience. She is not simply a witch in the modern sense. She is a being whose powers and wisdom are extensions of the world itself. In this way, she serves as a reminder that life contains mysteries beyond human understanding, and that careful observation, patience, and respect are essential for harmony with the world. Art, literature, and music in Russia have continued to explore and expand Baba Yaga's presence. From early illustrated manuscripts to modern adaptations in literature and film, she remains a captivating figure. Artists often depict her in her hut, surrounded by the forest, emphasizing both her power and her connection to natural cycles. Writers explore her dual nature, presenting her as both a cautionary figure and a source of guidance. Musicians and composers have drawn on the eerie, rhythmic qualities associated with her stories, creating soundscapes that evoke the forest, the hut's movement, and the tension and release of her texts. Through these varied forms, Baba Yaga's mythology continues to resonate, reminding audiences of her layered significance and her role as a cultural and imaginative touchstone. Baba Yaga also serves as a symbolic representation of wisdom, age, and transformation. She is often portrayed as old, her appearance marked by wrinkles, a crooked nose, and the weight of centuries of knowledge. Yet her age is not merely a physical trait. It signifies accumulated experience, understanding, and mastery of both natural and magical forces. In this way, she becomes a figure of respect for the lessons that come with time, emphasizing the value of patience, observation, and thoughtful action. Her interactions with characters like Vasilisa illustrate how knowledge can be transmitted through challenge and guidance, creating a narrative rhythm that mirrors the slow, deliberate pace of learning and maturation. Culturally, Baba Yaga embodies the tension between fear and fascination, a duality that mirrors human engagement with the unknown. She is a figure who demands attention, respect, and careful navigation, and in doing so, she fosters qualities such as cleverness, courage, and humility. At the same time, her mysterious presence evokes awe, wonder, and the quiet thrill of encountering something beyond ordinary comprehension. This combination of fear and fascination ensures that she remains a compelling figure in both historical and modern contexts, allowing her stories to be enjoyed for their narrative depth as well as their immersive, reflective qualities. The symbolism of Baba Yaga extends even further into themes of life, death, and transformation. She is closely associated with the cycles of nature, the changing seasons, the ebb and flow of life, and the inevitability of endings and beginnings. Her tests and guidance often reflect these themes, emphasizing that growth and understanding arise from engagement with challenges, that insight is gained through careful attention, and that wisdom is inseparable from experience. In this way, she becomes a figure who teaches not only practical or moral lessons, but also a contemplative understanding of the deeper rhythms of life. Even in modern interpretations, Baba Yaga's presence continues to inspire reflection and imagination. She appears in contemporary literature, film, and animation, always retaining her duality, her connection to nature, and her role as a figure of challenge and guidance. Yet the core lessons remain unchanged: patience, respect, attentiveness, courage, and cleverness are valued above brute force or recklessness. These enduring qualities ensure that her mythology continues to resonate with audiences, providing both entertainment and subtle guidance in a way that is calming, immersive, and reflective. In the quiet of the night, with the forest imagined softly around us and the gentle movement of leaves and shadows, Baba Yaga's place in Russian culture becomes clear. She is more than a character. She is a guide, a mirror, a teacher, and a symbol of the rhythms and lessons of life itself. Her mythology encourages reflection, patience, and mindfulness, blending moral guidance with immersive storytelling. It is through this layered presence that she continues to captivate imaginations, offering calm, contemplative journeys through forests, huts, and the landscapes of both the natural and the inner world. As we leave behind the story of Vasilisa and her lessons within Baba Yaga's hut, it is important to explore how this enigmatic figure appears across the broader spectrum of Slavic folklore. Her presence stretches far beyond a single tale, appearing in stories from Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and other Slavic regions, each story coloring her character with subtle differences while preserving the essential traits that make her so compelling. Across these narratives, she is consistently portrayed as a figure of duality, simultaneously fearsome and wise, challenging and instructive, rooted in the natural world yet extending into the mystical. To understand Baba Yaga fully, one must see her not only as a character in a single story, but as a living symbol woven into the imagination and culture of an entire people. In Ukrainian folklore, for instance, Baba Yaga retains her association with the forest and the liminal spaces between the ordinary and the magical. She is often depicted as the keeper of knowledge and secrets, a figure who tests the cleverness and patience of those who wander into her domain. While the core themes remain similar, challenge, guidance, moral reflection, her specific interactions with travelers or children may vary, reflecting local cultural values and storytelling traditions. In some tales, she may be more unpredictable, appearing suddenly and issuing tasks without warning, while in others, she is more deliberate, her presence carefully framed to emphasize instruction and moral lessons. These variations highlight her adaptability as a folkloric figure, capable of embodying the fears, hopes, and cultural wisdom of different communities. Belarusian tales often emphasize her connection to the cycles of nature and the forces beyond human control. In these stories, Baba Yaga is not merely a test of courage or cleverness. She represents the unseen rhythms of the world, the interplay of life and death, growth and decay. She is deeply integrated into the landscape, her hut appearing in remote forests or atop hills, her presence shaping the environment around her. These tales invite listeners to observe carefully, to respect the balance of the natural world, and to recognize that wisdom is often embedded in the patterns and cycles that surround us. This portrayal underscores her role not only as a figure of challenge, but also as a teacher of attunement to the rhythms of life. Across Slavic folklore, Baba Yaga frequently embodies the threshold between childhood and adulthood. She is often a figure whom young protagonists must encounter, navigate, and learn from, reflecting a universal theme of growth and maturation. By interacting with her, characters discover their own strengths, resourcefulness, and courage. The forest, her hut, and the tasks she sets serve as symbolic spaces where inner qualities are tested and refined. In this way, Baba Yaga's stories function not just as entertainment, but as gentle guides for personal development, using narrative, rhythm, and immersive detail to encourage reflection, attentiveness, and calm engagement with the story. In addition, she frequently appears in narratives emphasizing cleverness and ingenuity over brute force. In many tales, simple courage alone is not enough. Success requires observation, patience, and creative problem-solving. Travelers or children who demonstrate these qualities are often rewarded, while those who act rashly or ignore subtle guidance may face setbacks. This focus on cleverness and mindfulness reflects the practical and moral lessons embedded in Slavic folklore, emphasizing that intelligence, awareness, and adaptability are vital tools for navigating both the forest and life itself. The slow, immersive pace of these stories allows these lessons to unfold gradually, creating a calm, reflective experience for the listener. Interestingly, across Slavic regions, Baba Yaga's physical depiction varies slightly, though core characteristics remain consistent. She is usually portrayed as old and weathered, with a long nose, piercing eyes, and a presence that is both unsettling and magnetic. Her hut on chicken legs is a unifying symbol, present in most variations, representing movement, unpredictability, and the liminal nature of her domain. While some regional tales may emphasize her magical abilities more than her appearance, the combination of her physicality, her environment, and her tests creates a character who is immediately recognizable and endlessly fascinating, capable of inspiring both fear and admiration. Her role in Slavic folklore is further enriched by her symbolic connection to natural and supernatural cycles. She embodies transitions, transformations, and the boundaries between life and death, safety and danger, ignorance and wisdom. Across these tales, the forest itself mirrors her qualities, alive, unpredictable, and full of hidden lessons. The interplay between Baba Yaga and her environment underscores a broader philosophical reflection that understanding and growth are cultivated through observation, patience, and engagement with the unknown. This theme resonates consistently across Slavic folklore, reinforcing her significance not just as a character, but as a symbolic figure embodying wisdom, challenge, and transformation. Even minor tales emphasize these qualities, showing her adaptability as a folkloric figure. She may appear briefly, issuing a challenge or providing guidance, yet her presence is always significant, shaping the narrative and influencing the character's journey. The recurring motifs, the forest, the hut, her ambiguous morality, ensure that even short stories carry her depth, teaching listeners about awareness, respect, patience, and cleverness. The cumulative effect of these stories across regions is a rich tapestry of meaning, in which Baba Yaga serves as a bridge between human experience and the natural and magical worlds, encouraging slow, attentive engagement with life's lessons. Finally, across all Slavic folklore, her enduring appeal lies in her layered complexity. She is not a flat villain or simple helper. She is a figure whose challenges teach, whose ambiguity reflects the complexity of life, and whose very presence invites reflection and imagination. Through her, listeners learn to navigate uncertainty, appreciate subtle guidance, and cultivate patience and attentiveness. Her stories, told slowly and with immersive sensory detail, foster calm reflection, allowing the audience to absorb lessons gently while also enjoying the enchantment and mystery of the world she inhabits. In this way, Baba Yaga across Slavic folklore becomes a timeless guide, a living symbol of the interplay between fear, wisdom, and transformation. Her stories remind us that growth and understanding often arise from challenge, that observation and cleverness are essential tools, and that even in the most mysterious or unsettling circumstances, guidance and insight can be found. As we sit quietly in the imagined forest, listening to the soft rustle of leaves and the distant creak of the hut's chicken legs, we feel her presence subtly guiding us, offering lessons embedded in rhythm, story, and the immersive magic of folklore. As we continue to explore the world of Baba Yaga, it becomes impossible to overlook one of the most iconic and mysterious elements of her stories: her hut, standing on chicken legs, turning slowly in the forest, alive in its own peculiar way. The hut is more than a setting. It is a symbol that captures the liminality, unpredictability, and magical presence that Baba Yaga embodies. Imagine the forest around you, the soft rustle of leaves, the distant murmur of a stream, and the gentle shadows cast by moonlight. In this quiet, reflective space, the hut emerges, not as a simple dwelling, but as a character itself, with its own rhythms, awareness, and subtle influence over those who approach. The chicken-legged hut moves with a deliberate, almost sentient motion. It rotates slowly, shifting to face those who approach or to retreat into the depths of the forest. This movement symbolizes the elusive, unpredictable nature of Baba Yaga herself. Just as the hut cannot be approached directly without attention and patience, so too must those who encounter Baba Yaga navigate her domain carefully, observing subtle cues and acting thoughtfully. The hut is a liminal space, a threshold between the familiar and the unknown, mirroring the lessons that the forest and Baba Yaga's challenges teach. Its movement reminds listeners that the world is not fixed, that understanding requires attentiveness, and that guidance and insight often appear only when approached with care and respect. Inside the hut, the atmosphere is rich with sensory detail, designed to immerse both protagonist and listener in a slow, reflective rhythm. The walls are lined with jars of herbs, small containers of mysterious ingredients, and objects whose purposes are not immediately clear. The hearth glows softly, casting dancing shadows across the uneven floors, while the scent of smoke, herbs, and earth fills the air. Every detail of the hut is deliberate, serving both narrative and symbolic functions. The jars and herbs represent knowledge, preparation, and the transformative power of subtle, careful action. The glow of the hearth provides warmth and illumination, symbolizing guidance and the presence of wisdom even within a space that can feel eerie or challenging. The hut's chicken legs, in particular, are rich in symbolism. They allow the dwelling to move, to pivot, and to evade or confront those who enter. This mobility underscores the dynamic nature of Baba Yaga's world, where nothing is entirely fixed and where success requires adaptability, observation, and patience. The hut is alive in a way that mirrors the forest itself, its movements responsive to both the environment and those who approach. In stories, this movement is often described slowly, with careful pacing, emphasizing the importance of observation and creating a gentle suspense that draws the listener in without causing alarm. The rhythm of the hut turning, shifting, and positioning itself is a meditation in motion, reflecting the balance of risk, opportunity, and the interplay between fear and curiosity. The hut also functions as a protective space, both for Baba Yaga and for those who enter with intention and respect. It is a contained environment in which lessons, challenges, and transformations can occur safely. While its exterior may seem strange or even intimidating, its interior is structured, purposeful, and rich with tools for learning and growth. This duality reflects the broader moral and philosophical lessons of Baba Yaga's stories, that challenge and safety, fear and guidance, are not mutually exclusive but coexist within the same space. The listener is invited to absorb this subtle rhythm, feeling the tension and release that the hut embodies, and reflecting on the idea that growth often emerges in environments that are simultaneously demanding and supportive. In many stories, the hut's interior serves as the stage for tasks and tests that reveal character and cultivate skills. Protagonists may be asked to clean, sort, prepare, or gather items, each task imbued with symbolic meaning. Success requires attentiveness, patience, and cleverness, teaching the value of observation and deliberate action. The hut's design and contents encourage slow engagement, reflection, and careful participation, creating a narrative space that is immersive and meditative. As a listener, one is drawn into the sensory richness of the setting, feeling the textures, smells, and subtle motions as if moving quietly alongside the character, step by step, task by task. Beyond its physical and functional qualities, the hut symbolizes the thresholds of life itself. It represents the points at which ordinary experience meets the unknown, where understanding must be earned through attentiveness, courage, and reflection. Its movement, its interior richness, and its connection to Baba Yaga's presence all underscore the idea that wisdom and insight are earned through engagement, rather than given freely. The hut is a reminder that growth and transformation often occur at the edges of comfort and familiarity, in spaces that are simultaneously intriguing, challenging, and instructive. Even the story's descriptions of approaching the hut emphasize its liminality. Travelers often hesitate at the edge of the forest clearing, observing the slow rotation of the hut, noticing the shadows and the subtle movement of its legs. This hesitation is purposeful, creating a moment of reflection and mindfulness before engagement. In doing so, the narrative teaches that patience and careful observation are as important as courage and action. The hut, therefore, is not only a physical dwelling but a symbol of the interplay between readiness and restraint, awareness and initiative, risk and reward. Finally, the hut serves as a bridge between the mundane and the magical. Its outwardly strange and mobile form contrasts with the inner lessons and guidance it houses, reminding us that appearances can be deceptive and that careful attention is required to understand and navigate the world. The hut, like Baba Yaga herself, is a layered, immersive symbol, a threshold, a teacher, a protective space, and a mirror of the rhythms and cycles of life. In the quiet of the forest, imagined softly in the mind, its presence invites calm reflection, gentle curiosity, and an appreciation for the subtle, deliberate magic embedded in folklore. As we linger in the quiet forest around Baba Yaga's hut, it becomes clear that her world is filled with more than shadows, moving trees, and mystical architecture. Her domain is also rich with magical objects and tools, each carrying its own subtle significance, purpose, and story. These items are not mere props. They are extensions of her presence, reflections of her knowledge, and instruments through which lessons are conveyed. Imagine, if you will, the soft glow of the hearth illuminating shelves lined with mysterious jars, small bottles, and curious implements. The air is fragrant with herbs, smoke, and the earthy aroma of the forest, creating a slow, immersive rhythm that draws the listener deeper into the world of Baba Yaga. Each object, each subtle detail, invites careful attention, encouraging patience and reflection. One of the most iconic tools associated with Baba Yaga is her broom, a simple object imbued with profound symbolic meaning. In the stories, the broom can sweep away not only physical traces but also obstacles, illusions, or distractions. It is an instrument of order, yet wielded by a figure whose world thrives on unpredictability and challenge. The broom emphasizes the balance between action and intention, a tool that requires focus, skill, and respect to use effectively. In the same way, the listener is invited to observe the broom's quiet significance, understanding that even ordinary objects, when imbued with purpose and awareness, can become vessels for learning and transformation. Another magical implement is Baba Yaga's mortar and pestle, which she often uses for both travel and magical purposes. The mortar, capable of gliding through the air, embodies movement, adaptability, and the interplay between control and surrender. It allows her to traverse distances rapidly, yet the act of using it requires precision and awareness. In symbolic terms, the mortar and pestle reflect the process of transformation itself, crushing, blending, and reshaping materials into something new. This resonates with the broader themes of her stories, in which challenges and encounters serve to transform characters, refining their understanding, courage, and resourcefulness. Potions, herbs, and other alchemical objects fill her hut, each with its own gentle aura of magic. Some are used for healing, others for insight, and still others for subtle protection. These items are never arbitrary. They are carefully chosen to reflect the themes of observation, attentiveness, and patience. The process of using, sorting, or preparing these objects often forms the heart of tasks assigned to those who enter her domain. By watching, listening, and participating thoughtfully, characters learn the rhythms of her world and the lessons hidden within these magical instruments. For the listener, this creates a sense of calm curiosity, as each detail encourages mental exploration without urgency or pressure. The presence of these objects also highlights the interplay between the ordinary and the extraordinary. Many of them are familiar at first glance: a broom, a jar, a piece of wood. But in Baba Yaga's hands, they become vessels of knowledge and power. This duality reinforces one of the story's core lessons, that perception, careful observation, and thoughtful engagement are essential for understanding the world. The magical tools of Baba Yaga remind us that wisdom is often embedded in the mundane, waiting for those who approach with patience and attention to notice their significance. Some tales emphasize the strategic use of these objects, where cleverness and resourcefulness are tested. For example, a protagonist might need to use a broom, a jar of herbs, or a simple knife in an unexpected way to complete a task or navigate a challenge. These moments are described slowly, with attention to movement, sound, and texture, so that the listener can imagine the act clearly, step by step. The pacing encourages calm engagement, allowing the mind to move in rhythm with the story while also absorbing the underlying lessons of creativity, adaptability, and careful attention. Each magical object in Baba Yaga's domain also reflects aspects of her personality. The broom, precise and purposeful. The mortar and pestle, adaptive and powerful. The jars and herbs, meticulous and knowledgeable. They all mirror her duality as both fearsome and wise, unpredictable and instructive. They serve as extensions of her influence, shaping the world around her and subtly guiding the actions of those who enter her space. By interacting with these objects, characters, and by extension, listeners, learn about her values, attentiveness, cleverness, patience, and respect for both the seen and unseen forces in life. Even in quiet moments, the magical objects contribute to the immersive atmosphere of the story. Imagine Vasilisa observing the gentle sway of the broom, the smooth surface of a jar, or the subtle glimmer of herbs in soft candlelight. The hut seems alive with the hum of possibilities, each object quietly teaching the rhythm of careful observation, mindful action, and reflective engagement. This creates a meditative space in which the listener can imagine moving slowly through the narrative, noticing details, and absorbing lessons in a calm, immersive manner. The use of magical objects also emphasizes the theme of transformation. Just as the mortar and pestle reshapes ingredients, the broom sweeps away distractions, and the herbs offer subtle insight. The characters themselves are transformed through interaction with these tools. Vasilisa, guided by her doll and her own attentiveness, learns to navigate challenges, gain wisdom, and emerge with inner strength. The objects thus serve as both literal and metaphorical instruments of growth, illustrating that learning and development often occur through engagement with the right tools, applied thoughtfully and patiently. Finally, the magical tools of Baba Yaga serve to reinforce the overall rhythm and pacing of her stories. Each task, each object, and each moment of interaction unfolds slowly, encouraging a calm, reflective state in both the protagonist and the listener. The forest, the hut, and the tools together create a layered, immersive environment where lessons are absorbed gently, tension is balanced by rhythm, and curiosity is guided by careful observation. Through these elements, the stories achieve their timeless power, teaching, enchanting, and soothing in equal measure, allowing the listener to drift into reflection or sleep while remaining engaged in the quiet magic of Baba Yaga's world. As we sit quietly in the imagined forest, listening to the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant creak of Baba Yaga's hut, we can begin to observe the common themes that weave through her many stories across Slavic folklore. These themes are subtle yet powerful, creating a rhythm and structure that makes her tales so immersive and memorable. They provide more than entertainment. They are gentle guides to understanding courage, wisdom, patience, and the natural world. In every story, from Vasilisa the Beautiful to lesser-known folktales, certain patterns emerge, revealing the principles that underlie her enigmatic presence and her enduring role in storytelling. One of the most prominent themes is the idea of the journey into the unknown. Characters who encounter Baba Yaga almost always must leave the familiar behind, stepping into a forest, a remote clearing, or a shifting landscape filled with both beauty and uncertainty. This journey is symbolic, reflecting the universal human experience of facing challenges, venturing into unfamiliar territory, and seeking growth through exploration. The forest, alive with soft sounds, subtle movements, and the faint glow of moonlight, becomes a mirror of the internal journey. As the listener imagines moving through this forest slowly, absorbing the textures, smells, and quiet rhythms, the story encourages reflection on personal challenges and the courage needed to approach them thoughtfully. Another recurring theme is the testing of character. Baba Yaga rarely functions as a simple helper or villain. She embodies the delicate balance between challenge and guidance. In every story, her tasks, instructions, and even her silent observations serve to test qualities such as patience, cleverness, attentiveness, and moral awareness. The protagonist's response to these tests often determines the outcome, reinforcing the lesson that growth and reward are earned through thoughtful action rather than force or haste. This theme encourages the listener to consider their own approach to challenges, cultivating mindfulness, reflection, and measured engagement with life's uncertainties. Transformation is closely linked to these challenges. Vasilisa, for instance, emerges from her encounter with Baba Yaga stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. This pattern repeats across other stories. Those who engage with Baba Yaga's domain, approach her with respect, and follow her guidance emerge changed in meaningful ways. Transformation is rarely instantaneous. It unfolds slowly, echoing the pacing of the forest, the rhythm of her hut, and the careful sequence of tasks. The listener is invited to absorb this process, moving mentally in step with the protagonist, appreciating that personal growth is a gradual, reflective journey. The duality of Baba Yaga herself is another central theme. She is simultaneously fearsome and wise, unpredictable and instructive, embodying both danger and opportunity. This duality reflects a broader philosophical truth within Slavic folklore, that life is complex, that good and bad, challenge and reward, coexist, and that wisdom emerges from navigating these contrasts with awareness and care. The forest and the hut, alive and shifting, serve as extensions of her duality, reinforcing the notion that understanding and insight are earned through observation, respect, and deliberate action rather than rashness or avoidance. Another common theme is the importance of attentiveness and cleverness. Baba Yaga's tests often require more than bravery. They demand observation, intelligence, and adaptability. Tasks may seem simple but contain hidden complexities, or they may require creative solutions that reward ingenuity. These elements of her stories encourage listeners to slow their thinking, to consider possibilities carefully, and to recognize the power of thoughtful engagement. The immersive descriptions of the forest, the hut, and the magical objects she uses enhance this theme, drawing attention to detail and encouraging a meditative, reflective state. Respect for the natural world and its rhythms is also a recurring motif. Baba Yaga is closely tied to the forest, the cycles of the seasons, and the subtle movements of plants and animals. Her stories teach that the world is alive with patterns and forces that must be acknowledged and understood. Characters who observe, respect, and act in harmony with these forces are rewarded, while those who disregard them often face difficulty. The gentle pacing of the narrative mirrors the slow, rhythmic unfolding of natural cycles, reinforcing the connection between attentiveness, patience, and successful navigation of both the magical and mundane aspects of life. Morality and ethics are woven subtly into her tales. Baba Yaga does not provide straightforward moral lessons, but through her duality, challenges, and tests, she conveys a nuanced understanding of right and wrong. Actions have consequences, and the interplay of choices, attentiveness, and cleverness determines the outcome of each story. The listener absorbs these lessons not through direct instruction, but through the reflective, immersive experience of following the protagonist's journey, noticing the consequences of decisions, and observing the quiet balance of risk and reward within Baba Yaga's domain. Themes of courage, resourcefulness, and patience are further reinforced through the magical objects she wields. Her broom, mortar and pestle, jars of herbs, and other tools are not merely decorative. They are instruments of transformation, teaching, and guidance. Characters learn to interact with these objects thoughtfully, understanding their purposes and subtleties, reflecting the broader theme that wisdom often arises through careful observation, attentiveness, and deliberate action. For listeners, this encourages a slow, reflective engagement with the narrative, fostering calm attention and imaginative immersion. Finally, the overarching theme of liminality permeates every story. Baba Yaga exists at thresholds, between life and death, the familiar and the unknown, childhood and adulthood, fear and understanding. Her presence marks spaces where transformation occurs, where lessons are learned, and where the ordinary meets the extraordinary. This theme is central to her role as a mythological figure and contributes to the meditative, immersive quality of her tales. As listeners move through the forest in their imagination, approaching her hut and observing her actions, they are invited into this liminal space, experiencing the quiet tension and reflective engagement that make her stories both relaxing and intellectually stimulating. Taken together, These common themes, journeys into the unknown, tests of character, transformation, duality, attentiveness, respect for nature, morality, courage, resourcefulness, and liminality, create a coherent and immersive framework for understanding Baba Yaga's stories. They provide structure, rhythm, and meaning, allowing each tale to function as both narrative entertainment and gentle guidance. For listeners seeking relaxation, reflection, or sleep, these themes foster calm engagement, slow the pace of thought, and encourage the absorption of subtle wisdom embedded in the storytelling. Beyond the forest, the hut, and the tangible lessons of her stories, Baba Yaga also occupies a rich space in the realm of psychology and symbolic interpretation. Over the years, scholars, folklorists, and psychologists have considered what her tales reveal about the human mind, the journey toward maturity, and the process of inner transformation. Viewed through a psychological lens, Baba Yaga is not merely a witch or folkloric figure. She represents the inner challenges, fears, and hidden wisdom that each individual encounters on the path of personal growth. Her forest is the mind's unknown territory, her hut a place where internal and external realities intersect, and her tasks mirrors of the inner tests we face in life. One interpretation sees Baba Yaga as a figure representing the threshold of consciousness. She embodies the liminal space where the familiar gives way to the unknown, where fear and curiosity coexist, and where one must confront inner doubts and limitations. In Vasilisa's story, entering the forest and approaching Baba Yaga's hut can be seen as a metaphor for stepping into the uncharted regions of the psyche. The tasks she sets are not merely external challenges. They mirror internal struggles, moments where attention, patience, and cleverness allow the character to navigate uncertainty successfully. Through this lens, the stories become reflections of human growth, illustrating how courage and mindfulness are essential for navigating the unknown within ourselves. Another psychological perspective interprets Baba Yaga as a symbol of the mother archetype, albeit an unconventional one. Unlike the nurturing, gentle mother figure, Baba Yaga represents a more complex maternal influence, one that combines discipline, challenge, and guidance. She is demanding, testing, and sometimes frightening, but ultimately instructive. This duality mirrors the way individuals must confront authority, discipline, or expectations in life, learning to navigate rules, boundaries, and moral challenges. Through this archetype, the stories teach the value of discernment, respect, and adaptability, highlighting the role of guidance that is not always comforting but is ultimately transformative. Baba Yaga's duality, simultaneously fearsome and wise, also lends itself to interpretation through the lens of shadow psychology. She embodies aspects of the self that are often hidden, suppressed, or feared, the unknown, the unpredictable, and the challenging. Interacting with her in the stories allows protagonists, and symbolically the listener, to confront these shadow elements safely, testing their courage, morality, and problem-solving skills. By engaging with her tasks and challenges, one integrates aspects of the shadow self, achieving a deeper understanding of one's capabilities, limitations, and resilience. This mirrors the process of personal growth in which confronting difficult truths and hidden potentials leads to greater balance and insight. Her magical objects, the broom, the mortar and pestle, jars of herbs, and other tools, also carry psychological significance. They are extensions of her wisdom and instruments for transformation, representing resources within the psyche that allow for problem-solving, adaptation, and growth. Learning to use these objects successfully is analogous to cultivating one's inner faculties, attention, creativity, patience, and discernment. Vasilisa's careful engagement with these tools illustrates the process of inner learning, showing how mindfulness and thoughtful action cultivate resilience, confidence, and insight. Another psychological layer emerges in her role as a gatekeeper. Baba Yaga tests the limits of her visitors, determining who is ready to pass, who is prepared for wisdom, and who must develop further. In this way, she mirrors the mental and emotional thresholds individuals face, moments where preparation, patience, and reflection determine whether one succeeds or stumbles. The forest and hut serve as symbolic environments where internal and external challenges intersect, where decisions, attention, and moral awareness are continuously tested. These symbolic thresholds reinforce the idea that growth often requires confronting discomfort, uncertainty, and fear in order to emerge wiser and stronger. Baba Yaga's presence also reflects themes of life, death, and transformation, which are central to psychological interpretation. She is closely tied to cycles, the changing seasons, the movement of the forest, and the rhythm of her hut on chicken legs. These elements mirror the cyclical nature of personal growth, periods of challenge, reflection, learning, and renewal. Vasilisa's successful navigation of her tasks represents an integration of these cycles, achieving mastery over her fears and limitations, and moving forward into a phase of understanding and empowerment. The listener is invited to absorb this rhythm gently, imagining the slow turning of the hut, the quiet forest, and the measured steps of transformation unfolding within and around them. Fear and fascination, recurring in her stories, also have psychological significance. Encountering the unknown is often both thrilling and intimidating. Baba Yaga embodies this duality, creating a safe space for confronting complex emotions and learning to respond with balance. The measured pacing of the tales, the immersive sensory descriptions, and the slow unfolding of challenges encourage listeners to experience this tension calmly, reflecting on their own fears and capacities for adaptation and problem-solving. The result is a meditative engagement with the narrative, where the mind can explore challenges without becoming overwhelmed. Finally, Baba Yaga can be interpreted as a guide for the journey from childhood to adulthood, representing the psychological process of maturation. Her tests, challenges, and guidance mirror the process of developing self-awareness, resilience, and insight. Through encounters with her, protagonists learn to navigate uncertainty, embrace complexity, and cultivate internal resources for facing life's challenges. Listeners, experiencing the story slowly and attentively, absorb these lessons, moving gently through reflection, imagination, and quiet understanding, just as Vasilisa moves carefully through the forest and her tasks. In this way, Baba Yaga's stories extend beyond folklore into the realms of psychology and personal development. She embodies thresholds, shadow elements, unconventional guidance, and cycles of transformation, providing a rich, reflective space for exploring the inner world. As the listener imagines the forest, the hut, and the magical tasks, they are invited to journey inward, embracing patience, attention, and courage. The stories become both calming and instructive, offering subtle guidance for understanding fear, wisdom, and the slow unfolding of personal growth. As the forest around Baba Yaga fades into memory, her presence continues to evolve in modern storytelling, literature, film, and popular culture. Even today, her image, her hut on chicken legs, and her enigmatic wisdom resonate with audiences far beyond the forests of Slavic folklore. Modern adaptations capture her duality, her mystery, and her subtle lessons, translating them into forms that are accessible to contemporary audiences while preserving the calm, immersive, and reflective qualities that have always made her stories enduring. Whether in literature, animation, or cinema, Baba Yaga's presence invites both fascination and contemplation, reminding us of the timeless power of myth to engage the imagination and teach lessons in a gentle, reflective manner. In literature, Baba Yaga appears in retellings that often expand upon her psychological complexity and her symbolic power. Authors may explore her as a figure of transformation, an embodiment of the shadow self, or a guide through liminal spaces. Some modern writers emphasize her ambiguous morality, her unpredictable nature, or her role as a teacher rather than a simple antagonist. These retellings often preserve the sensory richness of the original folklore, the rustle of leaves, the creak of the hut, the scent of herbs, allowing readers to experience the same immersive calm that the original stories provided by fireside or in whispered oral tales. The slow pacing, careful description, and reflective focus ensure that her lessons in patience, cleverness, and attentiveness remain central, even in new narrative forms. In film and animation, Baba Yaga often retains her most iconic features: the hut on chicken legs, her aged and formidable appearance, and her dual nature. Directors and animators frequently use visual and auditory techniques to enhance the immersive quality of her world. The soft sway of the hut, the whispering of wind through the forest, and the subtle glimmer of magical objects help create an atmosphere that is both enchanting and meditative. In these adaptations, Baba Yaga's tests and interactions are often slowed and stylized, emphasizing the rhythmic unfolding of challenges rather than the rush of action. This allows audiences to absorb the subtle lessons of her stories, experiencing the calm, reflective engagement that is so characteristic of traditional storytelling. Modern adaptations also explore her symbolic significance in contemporary contexts. In some narratives, she represents the confrontation with one's fears, the necessity of adaptability, or the value of insight and cleverness in overcoming obstacles. In others, she is a figure of environmental or spiritual wisdom, connected to nature, cycles of life, and the unseen patterns that shape the world. By placing her in new contexts, storytellers retain the reflective and meditative qualities of her folklore while providing fresh perspectives on her enduring lessons. Listeners or viewers are invited to experience her world slowly, noticing patterns, symbols, and rhythms that connect to broader human experiences and contemporary concerns. In popular culture, Baba Yaga's influence extends into comics, video games, and even music. Her image often appears as a motif for transformation, mystery, and the interplay of fear and fascination. In these mediums, her character may interact with protagonists in ways that highlight courage, cleverness, and resourcefulness, preserving the essence of her original folklore. Even in fast-paced or interactive forms, the careful design of her world, her magical tools, and her enigmatic presence invite attention, curiosity, and reflective engagement. The audience is encouraged to navigate her domain with care, echoing the patient, attentive approach that has always been central to her stories. Interestingly, modern interpretations often expand on the moral and psychological lessons embedded in her folklore. Writers and creators emphasize the importance of introspection, attentiveness to subtle cues, and the cultivation of inner resources such as patience, cleverness, and resilience. Baba Yaga's duality, her capacity to test, instruct, and guide, remains central, offering audiences an opportunity to reflect on challenges and transformation in their own lives. In this way, she continues to function as both a compelling narrative figure and a subtle teacher, fostering calm reflection, imaginative engagement, and gentle moral exploration. Some adaptations also explore her as a mentor figure, highlighting the role of challenge and personal growth. Protagonists may encounter her not as a villain to defeat, but as a guide who encourages observation, problem-solving, and self-awareness. This framing preserves the reflective and immersive quality of her traditional stories, emphasizing that wisdom is often gained through engagement with difficulty, attentiveness, and thoughtful action. The slow unfolding of her tests and the careful pacing of her environment create a meditative space for audiences, where reflection, calm engagement, and imaginative exploration are foreground over fast action or spectacle. Baba Yaga's influence also reaches global audiences, inspiring creators outside the Slavic tradition. Her archetype, the enigmatic, dual-natured figure who tests, teaches, and transforms, resonates universally, reminding us of the enduring power of folklore to cross cultural boundaries. Modern retellings often incorporate elements of her traditional stories while situating her in new landscapes, genres, or narrative frameworks. Whether in fantastical literature, psychological thrillers, or immersive games, her lessons in patience, observation, cleverness, and courage remain central, preserved through slow pacing, reflective detail, and immersive world-building. Even in adaptations aimed at younger audiences, the calming, reflective qualities of her stories are often maintained. Authors and illustrators emphasize sensory detail, slow narrative progression, and the rhythmic unfolding of tasks and challenges. The forest, the hut, the magical objects, and Baba Yaga herself are depicted in ways that invite careful attention, gentle curiosity, and imaginative engagement. The lessons of patience, cleverness, and respect for the unknown are embedded naturally in the narrative, allowing children and adults alike to absorb them in a soothing, contemplative manner. Ultimately, Baba Yaga's modern adaptations demonstrate the timelessness and versatility of her myth. Her presence continues to teach, fascinate, and inspire, offering audiences a space to reflect on courage, wisdom, and personal growth. The careful balance of fear and guidance, challenge and reward, sensory immersion and narrative rhythm ensures that her stories remain both captivating and calming. Through literature, film, games, and other media, she continues to inhabit the liminal spaces between reality and imagination, mystery and insight, ensuring that her legacy endures, quietly guiding new generations through forests both literal and metaphorical. As we step back from the forest, the hut on its chicken legs, and the swirling magic of Baba Yaga's world, we can begin to consider what her stories offer for modern life. Though she emerged from the folklore of centuries past, her lessons remain remarkably relevant, guiding us gently through challenges, uncertainties, and moments of personal reflection. Baba Yaga's world, with its slow rhythm, immersive details, and subtle moral guidance, encourages mindfulness, patience, and thoughtful engagement, qualities that are particularly valuable in a fast-paced, modern existence. Her tales remind us that growth and understanding are not achieved through haste, but through attentiveness, observation, and quiet courage. One lesson that resonates clearly is the importance of courage in the face of uncertainty. In her stories, characters often venture into the unknown, stepping into forests filled with shadow, mystery, and subtle danger. Success depends not on reckless bravery, but on steady, thoughtful courage, the kind that allows one to observe, learn, and respond deliberately. For modern listeners, this is a powerful reminder that challenges in life, whether personal, professional, or emotional, are best approached with calm awareness and measured steps. The forest may not be literal, but it is ever present in the metaphorical landscapes of decision, risk, and change. Baba Yaga's presence encourages us to move forward with quiet confidence, trusting both our instincts and our capacity for discernment. Another lesson is the value of attentiveness and observation. Throughout her stories, success often depends on noticing subtle cues, understanding hidden patterns, and interpreting guidance carefully. Vasilice's careful engagement with the forest, her doll, and Baba Yaga's tasks illustrates how mindfulness can transform challenges into opportunities for growth. In modern life, this lesson translates into attentiveness to our surroundings, relationships, and inner states. By slowing down, observing carefully, and responding thoughtfully, we cultivate clarity, resilience, and adaptability, qualities that help us navigate both ordinary and complex circumstances. Patience is also a central theme. In Baba Yaga's world, rushing or ignoring instructions often leads to setbacks or failure. Tasks must be completed deliberately, with care and attention to detail. This pacing mirrors the natural rhythm of life and teaches that meaningful progress and understanding require time. For modern listeners, the calming, immersive quality of her stories serves as a gentle reminder that patience is not simply waiting. It is active engagement, a mindful approach to challenges, and an awareness of the subtle interplay between actions, consequences, and opportunities. Cleverness and creativity are emphasized repeatedly. Baba Yaga's tasks often require more than brute strength. They demand ingenuity, problem-solving, and flexible thinking. Modern life, with its shifting demands and unexpected challenges, benefits from the same approach. By embracing creative solutions, thinking adaptively, and engaging with problems thoughtfully, we mirror the lessons of her stories. The forest, the hut, and the magical objects serve as metaphors for these mental landscapes, inviting reflection on the ways in which careful planning, observation, and ingenuity can guide us through uncertainty. Respect for the world, for others, and for oneself is another quiet but powerful lesson. In folklore, characters who approach Baba Yaga with humility, attentiveness, and care are often rewarded, while arrogance or disregard leads to difficulty. This principle applies naturally to modern life. Respecting natural rhythms, social relationships, personal boundaries, and ethical considerations fosters harmony, understanding, and growth. Baba Yaga's stories encourage us to cultivate respect as a foundational quality, recognizing that thoughtful interaction with the world yields richer, more sustainable outcomes. Transformation is perhaps the most enduring lesson. Encounters with Baba Yaga, her hut, and her magical objects are always transformative, shaping the character's understanding, resilience, and sense of self. This process mirrors personal growth in real life, where challenges, reflection, and patient engagement lead to insight and empowerment. Modern listeners can view these stories as gentle metaphors for change. Difficulties are not obstacles to be feared, but opportunities to learn, refine, and evolve. By embracing this perspective, one can navigate life's uncertainties with greater calm, confidence, and clarity. Her duality, both fearsome and wise, teaches balance. Life is rarely one-dimensional. Challenges often contain hidden opportunities, and guidance may come from unexpected or unconventional sources. By observing and reflecting on this duality, listeners can learn to approach complexity with composure, recognizing that every experience carries multiple lessons and potentials. Baba Yaga's stories encourage a flexible mindset, one that embraces nuance, tolerates ambiguity, and cultivates both courage and caution as needed. Even her magical objects, brooms, mortar and pestle, herbs, and jars, carry practical metaphors for modern life. They remind us that the tools and resources at our disposal, whether skills, knowledge, or relationships, must be used thoughtfully and attentively. Engagement with these tools shapes outcomes, just as careful interaction with magical objects shapes the story's narrative. In this way, the tales encourage proactive, mindful participation in life, emphasizing the importance of deliberate and reflective action. Finally, Baba Yaga's stories provide a form of meditative calm. The rhythm of her forest, the soft movements of her hut, the slow unfolding of tasks and challenges all cultivate a sense of reflective immersion. Modern listeners, often surrounded by distraction and noise, can use these stories as a gentle space to relax, observe, and internalize lessons. The combination of calm storytelling, moral insight, and immersive sensory detail creates a unique environment for reflection, relaxation, and personal growth. In essence, the lessons of Baba Yaga for modern life revolve around courage, attentiveness, patience, cleverness, respect, and transformation. Her stories remind us to slow down, observe carefully, engage thoughtfully, and embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. They teach that wisdom emerges not through haste or force, but through careful action, reflection, and understanding. By carrying these lessons into our daily lives, we can navigate complexity with calm confidence, approach uncertainty with mindful courage, and transform challenges into pathways of insight and personal development. As we reach the end of our journey through the forest, the turning hut, and the mysterious world of Baba Yaga, it is time to reflect quietly on the threads that weave her stories together and the gentle lessons they offer. Her presence lingers, not as a figure of mere fear or intrigue, but as a guide through the cycles of life, the thresholds of understanding, and the quiet rhythms of reflection and growth. In the stillness of imagination, the rustle of leaves, and the distant creak of her hut on chicken legs, we can feel the subtle pulse of her wisdom, reminding us of the balance between challenge and guidance, fear and understanding, and patience and action. Baba Yaga's stories, taken as a whole, are a tapestry of cultural, psychological, and moral insights. They teach us that life is rarely simple. It is full of thresholds to cross, challenges to navigate, and opportunities to observe, reflect, and respond with care. She embodies duality, representing both the unpredictable and the instructive, the fearsome and the wise, reminding us that growth emerges through engagement rather than avoidance. Each narrative, whether told around a fireside centuries ago or read in modern adaptations today, encourages calm attentiveness, thoughtful action, and reflective observation, guiding the listener gently through lessons that are as relevant now as they were in the past. The forest, the hut, and the magical objects within her domain serve as more than setting. They are mirrors of the inner journey, metaphors for attention, patience, and transformation. The hut on its chicken legs reminds us that life is not static and that progress often requires flexibility and awareness. Her broom, mortar, and jars of herbs symbolize the tools and resources we all carry within ourselves, skills, knowledge, and insight that, when applied thoughtfully, help us navigate challenges with confidence and creativity. By engaging with these elements carefully, the protagonists of her stories, and by extension, the listeners, learn to approach uncertainty with patience, attentiveness, and courage. Her lessons extend beyond practical guidance into the psychological and emotional realms. Baba Yaga encourages confrontation with fear, integration of the shadow self, and engagement with life's complex dualities. Her tasks, though sometimes daunting, provide a safe space for growth, reflection, and transformation. She teaches that obstacles are not inherently negative, but are opportunities to cultivate resilience, discernment, and wisdom. The slow rhythm of her stories, the immersive sensory descriptions, and the gentle unfolding of events allow the listener to internalize these lessons calmly, as if moving quietly through a forest at dusk, aware of each step and each detail. The modern adaptations of Baba Yaga further extend her lessons into contemporary life, illustrating that her wisdom transcends time and culture. Literature, film, animation, games, and other media preserve her duality, her unpredictability, and her capacity to guide and challenge, translating these qualities into forms accessible to modern audiences. Even as her stories evolve, the central themes, courage, attentiveness, patience, cleverness, respect, and transformation, remain intact. They provide a framework for reflection and self-awareness, reminding us to approach our own lives with mindfulness, curiosity, and thoughtful action. As we reflect on the symbolic dimensions of Baba Yaga's world, we recognize that her forest, her hut, and her tasks mirror the journey of life itself. Each encounter with the unknown, each moment of challenge, and each opportunity to act with care and wisdom contributes to personal growth. By observing attentively, responding thoughtfully, and embracing the lessons embedded in her stories, we cultivate inner strength, resilience, and understanding. Her narrative rhythm, gentle pacing, and immersive details encourage calm reflection, offering not only moral guidance, but also a meditative, relaxing experience that prepares the mind for rest, contemplation, and insight. Her role as a teacher is subtle yet profound. She does not offer instruction in a direct or didactic manner. Instead, she shapes experiences, tests character, and guides attentiveness. By doing so, she fosters qualities that are deeply valuable in both traditional and modern contexts: patience, observation, cleverness, respect, and the courage to face uncertainty. The gentle immersion into her world, the sound of wind through trees, the soft turning of her hut, the scent of herbs and smoke, creates an atmosphere in which these lessons are absorbed naturally, without force or urgency. This is the hallmark of storytelling designed to relax, reflect, and gently teach. Finally, the quiet reflection inspired by Baba Yaga allows the listener to integrate her lessons into daily life. The challenges she presents, the subtle wisdom she imparts, and the rhythms of her stories provide a blueprint for approaching life with mindfulness, patience, and curiosity. Her duality reminds us that fear and guidance, challenge and opportunity coexist, and that success comes through thoughtful engagement rather than force. By carrying her lessons forward, one can navigate modern challenges with calm resilience, creative problem-solving, and gentle awareness, approaching each threshold with quiet confidence and insight. As we drift gently from the forest, leaving behind the subtle sway of the hut, the whisper of the leaves, and the soft glow of candlelight within her domain, we carry with us the calm, reflective essence of Baba Yaga. Her stories linger in the mind like the slow turning of her hut, leaving impressions of courage, attentiveness, patience, cleverness, and transformation. They offer not only entertainment, but also gentle guidance, meditative reflection, and the quiet wisdom of generations past. In the stillness, we feel the rhythm of her world, the lessons she imparts, and the enduring presence of a figure who teaches, challenges, and inspires, softly guiding the imagination and the heart as night falls and sleep approaches. In the end, Baba Yaga remains timeless, a bridge between the known and the unknown, the ordinary and the magical, fear, and wisdom. Her stories, whether told in the flicker of candlelight centuries ago or through modern retellings today, offer a calm, immersive journey that relaxes, reflects, and teaches. She invites us to move slowly, observe carefully, act thoughtfully, and embrace the transformation that comes through experience, patience, and attentiveness. In this quiet, reflective space, we carry the lessons of her world into our own, guided gently by the wisdom, rhythm, and enduring magic of Baba Yaga.